What is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentation of their women.
All right. What is it? Tuesday night. Must be Radio Baloney Live, Tuesday night. I'm your host, Richie Baloney. And what are we going to talk about tonight? Let's do that very quickly, and then we're going to get to the chat. So first off, we're going to talk about this crazy stuff. Lauren Southern has put out this tape where she's been approached by Canadian intelligence, CSIS. It's like the Canadian CIA, and trying to recruit her as an agent and to work against and inform on other like right-wing content creators. And she's recorded this. She's recorded these meetings. Apparently, it's apparently hours and hours of this. But she's cut it down to something shorter, 7 minutes. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but we'll go through this. This is tied into the whole Tenet media thing. And we're going to go through that as well. And then we're going to go to some Canadian polls because there's some interesting polling that's been coming out regarding, what are the conservatives' fortunes? What are the liberals' fortunes if there is indeed an election coming up soon? I mean, the budget's going to be the final vote on that on the 17th. We don't know what will happen. I think it will pass. I think the NDP will support it, but we'll have to see. And I'm going to go through some because, you see different polling, but in the States, in Canada, I think everywhere, there are reliable pollsters and non-reliable ones. So we're going to go quickly. We're going to look at some of these. Abacus is actually very good and usually quite accurate. You've got some others like Ecos, the point is we're going to go through the last election and look at some of these polls from these polling firms leading up to the election, and you can judge for yourself how good they are. We have, hold on. We have Piers Morgan here, I guess, defending Trump on the breakfast show. That'll be interesting. We've got some stuff on Carney. Carney wants to militarize the civil service in Canada. He wants to train 300,000 bureaucrats to fire guns and, I guess, drive tanks and stuff, which is kind of weird. These are the people, it says that these are the same workers who demand they be allowed to work from home as the commute is too hard. I don't know what's going on here. It's part comedy. It's part, dystopian horror. I don't know what's going on. What we have here is an OG lesbian, and she's not a big fan of the LGBTQTI2SL whatever agenda. And we're going to hear from her. All right. We have here some, of course, woke Canada, wasteful spending from the Liberals. We're going to go through this. And yeah, we do this fairly often, go through and see the insane woke stuff they're throwing money away on. We're going to take a look at that. New York, not going well. And, we just keep coming back stream after stream to New York. Yeah, Mark Carney. We've got Scott Bessant here talking about Canada, and usually it's not too flattering. Let's see. What have we got here? So this is interesting. This is a TPUSA event. This is what they call far-right fascism. And we'll take a look and see how scary it really is. How scary it really is. I think they're dancing to YMCA. That's right. That's scary. We have, we're going to talk a little bit about Canadian media bias. We always do. And then we got a few things here on the last, just a few things here on the last tab. So I think it'll be a fairly short one tonight, maybe a couple of hours. And at 1 second. All right. I had a frog in my throat. That's a cough. All right. So what's going on? So as everybody knows, we're streaming on YouTube, on Rumble, on X, and on Locals. And when you like the stream, you get a free dose of good karma. For me, Richie Baloney. I make it especially for you, and it's good stuff. Keeps you alive. Keeps you out of trouble, actually. And but when you get the first like, you get extra good karma. Extra good karma. The first, series of likes get extra good karma. The first gets the most. It could be 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. Who knows? Who got the first tonight? Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says 30 minutes pregame show. Right on. All right. Well, Turtle's got the 4th like, so we don't have the first one. First like tonight is quintuple good karma. That's 5 times. In these troubled times, I wouldn't turn my back on that. So let's see. So that would be, so that's double good karma for Turtles. Double good karma. Fantastic stuff. All right. Trudeau Survivor says, Lauren Southern got famous holding a sign in front of the Vancouver Art Gallery. What did her sign say? Was it about Me Too nonsense? I can't remember. I think she started out with Rebel News, didn't she? Let's see. Turtle says being surrounded by panda-sized raccoons. Oh, no. Get the hell out of there, Turtles. Let's see. Rosie, how you doing? Good to see you. And happy Remembrance Day, everybody in Canada. Happy Veterans Day, everybody in the States. Trudeau Survivor says, I'll claim ownership over like number 1. Well, that's quintuple good karma. Like number 5, that's 1.5 good karmas for you. Rosie, good stuff. We're having a great time now. Trudeau says, love our vets, of course. Yeah, and Veterans Day in the States today. Remembrance Day in Canada. In the Commonwealth countries, Remembrance Day. All right. Well, why don't we just get to it, huh? So this is nuts. If Canada wasn't dystopian enough already, let's read this from Lauren Southern. Intelligence agents showed up at my door late last year. I told them to leave. Now, before we talk about this, we have to get to this. So Tenet Media. I'll read this CNN article here. Department of Justice alleges Russia-funded U.S. Hold on, people. I got a major frog in my throat here. There we go. That should fix it. All right. DOJ alleges Russia-funded U.S. media company linked to right-wing social media stars. So Tenet Media, and they were licensing content from like Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, Dave Rubin, Lauren Southern. And they were paying quite large sums of money for it. The unnamed Tennessee-based company that the Justice Department alleges was being funded by Russian operatives working as part of a Kremlin-orchestrated influence operation targeting the 2024 U.S. election is Tenet Media, which is linked to right-wing commentators with millions of subscribers on YouTube and other social media platforms, according to a U.S. Official briefed on the matter. An indictment unsealed in New York's Southern District accused 2 employees of RT, the Kremlin's media arm, of funneling nearly $10 million to an unidentified company described only as Company One in court documents. So that's that's Tenet Media. And I want to play this for you from, here's Merrick Garland here talking about it. And in this, he states that all of the content creators involved, including Lauren Southern, were actually victims of this. If the whole thing is true in the first place, which I think is kind of highly dubious, but we'll get to that later. Hold on. Let's watch Merrick Garland here.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead, the defendants and the company claimed that the company was sponsored by a private investor. But that private investor was a fictitious persona. The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers.
Never disclosed to the influencers or their millions of followers. So the story is that RT funneled money, I guess laundered money to some funneled money into Europe to then fund RT under false circumstances, or under false what's the word I'm looking for? But to funnel that money to companies pretending to not be a Russian influence operation, obviously. But none of this really makes any sense because there was no editorial instruction. This was just simply content that they were making anyway. So Tim Pool, Benny Johnson, they were just making this anyway and just simply licensing it out. No editorial control or direction or anything like that. Right? So it doesn't really make much sense to funnel $10 million to content creators to just keep doing what they're doing. And they're all doing very well anyway. This is just extra money. And it was a lot, more than you'd want to pass up. So they're unaware of, according to Merrick Garland himself, the content creators are all unaware of any of this. They're just making the content they would make anyway. How does that make sense? How does that make any sense? It feels, and I'm just speculating here, but it feels like there's something, I'm not going to, it feels like something else is going on here, right? It feels like there's something else. The whole thing doesn't make sense. So in any case, this Tenet case is still open. There's a lot of people saying it's been closed down. No, it's still open, but there's been no indictments or charges filed against any of the creators. The only people that have been charged are 2 Russians who are obviously never going to set foot in the United States, and they're not going to be extradited to the United States, right? So they're never going to be interviewed, right? So the whole thing feels kind of a little bit sketchy to me. But it is still an ongoing case. It's just there doesn't seem to be anything actually happening with it. So maybe we will find out something. It almost kind of feels like maybe it was some sort of a setup or something. I don't know. That's speculation, but it's very strange. Very strange. But in any case, that's the background for this. Okay, so intelligence agents showed up at my door late last year. I told them to leave. They proceeded to call me from anonymous numbers repeatedly, contacted my gym, told me they wouldn't go away unless I, quote, built a relationship with them as an asset. Quote, your audience will never know. Returned to speak with me multiple times, claiming they were giving me last chances before they threw me to the wolves. They told me that the courts wouldn't care if I was actually guilty or not, that essentially someone had to take the fall and I could ensure It wasn't me. It was repeatedly implied to me that you're smart, you know it's not what's true that matters, it's the perception. I was made to believe there was a potential arrest coming. Now, none of the content creators or the founders of the company Tenet themselves have been arrested. There's been no charges or anything like that. And there doesn't appear to be anything actually happening with this case. Made to believe I could never travel to the U.S. again without being arrested by the FBI. Made to believe I might not be around to see my child grow up. None of these things were true. I can enter the U.S. without issue. I was never arrested. I did nothing wrong. I was psychologically manipulated for months in an attempt to turn me into a government asset. We have one-party consent in Canada, and I believe it is in the public interest for people to understand how this works, as I know I'm not the only one. I have nothing against the agent. He was just given instructions and a job. But I have no doubt if his job were to destroy my life and try to jail me based on perception, not truth, he would do it. I'm just doing my job as well by publishing this. These are a few excerpts cut from hours of conversations to give people an idea of our conversations. So there's an awful lot of far-left extremism in Canada, an awful lot of far-left extremism. And this is how they spend their time. This is how the Canadian Security Intelligence Service is spending its time with Lauren Southern, who, contrary to what insane purple-haired leftists will tell you, or the Canadian Anti-Hate Network, funded by the Liberal Party, will tell you, she's just normal. She's not extreme anything. She's just a normal conservative. But this is where they spend their time. Amazing. And she's not even very active anymore. You see something from her here and there. Let's listen to this part here.
To show up at your door. But I think we can help you navigate through it. And again, in my opinion, just doing nothing is not going to get you in a better spot. It's going to be putting you at a significant disadvantage. Nothing might happen, okay? Like nothing, if they're like, oh, we don't have a significant case against Southern, then nothing. But if they go, these guys are all saying negative things. Again, when you're in the courtroom, it's the perception. It's not what the truth is. And you're smart enough to know, I'm really trying to actually help you. My mom was a single.
So I want to take you back here again. They're talking. Why would they be talking? Let's listen to Merrick Garland here again.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead,
so why would anybody be talking if they never knew anything from the first place? And here is Merrick Garland himself stating that. So not only is this incredibly dystopian, it's also incompetent, because obviously Lauren Southern would also know this. But let's hear some more.
Mom, you're a single mom. And I understand what you're doing right now. You're kind of keeping low and something that blows over. But I want to tell you, there's certain things in motion right now. This is not going away anytime soon. What is beneficial for you cooperating is pretty much self-preservation. Out of all the contributors and the founders, all of them have talked to the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person that's not is you, for the optics of it. Using Southern did not cooperate. The point I'm getting to is how much can you trust your other commentator that they are not cannibalizing each other, especially when the heat's turned up on them and they're pointing things. Let me back up to from our last meeting. A lot of people, especially my colleague, they're like, "All right, if she doesn't want to cooperate, and kind of beat her off to the wolves' head. Just let her." I don't think you fully understand the picture of the consequences of not working together. You've been on the ground. Do you trust these people? You trust him, fool? Lauren?
They have nothing they could say. That's the thing.
Yeah, but what would they say? They can allude to a lot.
To what? Again, I want to play this one more time.
The company never disclosed to the influencers or to their millions of followers its ties to RT and the Russian government. Instead,
and frankly, the whole thing just looks very weird, including, is it true there were actually ties to RT? Whole thing seems a bit odd to me. Again, the whole kind of disinformation plan only works if you can get people to say what you want, right? If it's a disinformation active measure, well, if you have no control over what the people are saying that you're paying and they don't know that you're paying them in the first place, what would be the point of that? It makes no sense. So I want to show you here at the beginning here as well.
Before you start, I just want to ask you, please, just turn off the phone.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really trying here to help you and navigate you out of this. Because if you just sit here and don't do anything, I know that's the easiest thing for your lawyer to say, but your lawyer's not going to be the one sitting in detentions. Like you that happened to you a bunch of times. I know you're actually you put up a very amazing front that things don't just disturb you, and it's quite actually incredible. Like when we came to your door, maybe you had 10 seconds of nervousness. You settled yourself down and you were calm and polite and nice. It's actually, if in another life, you would have made a great intelligence officer.
So you can hear the obvious manipulation techniques here. This is incredibly creepy and weird, and this is what they are focused on. I mean, we know that China has interfered in our last 3 elections. They even interfered to the benefit of Mark Carney in the Liberal leadership race after Justin Trudeau stepped down. This is what they're focused on. It feels to me like after 10 years, even the intelligence services in Canada have been infiltrated by just far leftists. That's what this feels like to me. I'm really glad that she published this, and it's a pretty brave thing to do because I think you maybe have to expect they're going to come back. They're going to want revenge for this. She says that she does a full video unpacking all of this and why she's less involved online and the inauthenticity of the current media space, feds and bots and oops and ops, oh my, feds and bots and ops, oh my, she says. So you can go ahead and watch that if you like. But yeah, to me, I just find it's really incredible that this is the focus. Right. And obviously, it seems like this actually has nothing to do with Tenet or the states. And this is, I think, I'm speculating here, but it feels like they're trying to recruit her as an asset. They're using this to scare her, right? Which she knows is bull, but to use against, I don't know, probably like Ezra Levant, right? Or just, Juno News, just independent Canadian media, conservative independent media, which we know the regime absolutely hates and despises. So that's speculation. I don't know, but this is messed up. This is crazy. Canada is becoming really unbelievably dystopian. All right. Let's get back to the chat, shall we? Let's get back to the chat. Bristol Tube, how you doing? Like number 4. I think that's a triple. Good karma for you. Can it be that much? Triple? Wow, that's a lot. Good for you. All right. I'm going to go back a little bit. La, 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 la. All right. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm just reorientating myself in the chat. Trudeau Survivor says she was with Rebel. That's how she got her start. I think she got tired of the bullshit fundraising. Rebel News always asking for donations, but Lauren said the money wasn't being allocated honestly. I think her thing was about the trips to Israel they used to do, or maybe they still do. And that they weren't being totally honest with it. I don't know. I mean, Lauren Southern, I don't have a problem with Lauren Southern. I think she's made some really good content over the years. And but there's maybe a little bit of a checkered past. There's been some claims that have been made, which are, I don't know, right? I don't know any of these people, right? But you always have to take everything, like ex-employees, you have to take with a grain of salt. Not saying that she had no point in that, or she was wrong, or she was lying, talking about Rebel News. But again, like, reality can look different from different sides. I've always seen Rebel News as being pretty principled. Israel Levant as being very principled. So when you see people who have really put themselves on the line, and Lauren Southern too has really put herself on the line. I mean, on the line, like you can see just from this, from what's happening here. I mean, you don't get to this point where you're being targeted by the government unless you've shown a lot of courage, right? That said, I think that Ezra Levant, Rebel News, also shown a lot of courage. So there's a lot that I just take with a grain of salt. Not saying anybody's lying, just saying, you don't always know the whole story. Did Turtles get kicked off X as well? Let's see. I need to find out what's going on here. Let's see. No, I appealed. No word yet. I declared. Declared pedo needs to be chemically castrated. Well, that's not a bad plan. Or just public hanging. Right? There's always that. Let's see. Dramus says that frog in his throat. I am offended. Now you should be offended by that. I did the French laugh. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor asks, very important question here. How much money does the RB show get from Putin? 2 rubles a year. Nothing. I get nothing. Nothing I know of anyway. Unless he sent me something, $4 in PayPal or something. But no. Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, my channel is just not big enough to rake in all those rubles. Those sweet, sweet rubles. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says everyone needs a spike camera. Yep. Turtle says fang fang, bang bang fang fang. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says last video I saw about Lauren Southern was her mocking Tim Hortons as Sing Hortons. I thought that was hilarious. I got to be honest. Well, I think she had sent a picture of herself holding a Tim Hortons coffee and a donut and saying, it said, I think, I love Indian food. And Canadians will understand that joke. Trudeau Survivor says the guy talking to Lauren sounds Asian. Yeah, maybe. I thought so too a little bit. Nevada got lucky at number 7. I'll just say that's a 1.3 good karmas. That's still pretty good. How you doing, Nevada? Bristol Tube says bouncing num-nums. I have no idea what he's talking about. No idea. Trudeau Survivor says, how long has RB been working for CSIS? Why aren't they paying me? Turtle says, hunting raccoons, blow gun at the ready. Well, last I heard, you were surrounded by giant panda-sized raccoons, which could be dangerous. All right, let's move on. So we're getting some new polls out, which are interesting. Let's go through a few. Here's a new one, new North Pole poll. I'm not sure. I think this is a new poll, actually, North Pole. It's got, and by the way, this is run by Justin Trudeau's former advisor. So just so you know about that. And this is from Cheray East. He does a great job aggregating a lot of stuff and mapping out the polling in terms of where it would be in seats. There's a really good, it's like 17 or something, like, and does a better job than like the mainstream media does in Canada, than anybody else does in Canada with the millions of dollars in funding. So it's impressive. He's got Conservatives at 40%. This is on par with the latest Abacus polls. So down 1%, Libs 40%, NDP 9%. They're up 3. NDP, if the NDP keeps gaining, if they can get back up to like around 12%, the Libs are screwed in the next election. They're just done. Bloc is up to 8%, so they're gaining too. That's not good for the Liberals. You got Green at 3%, PPC at 1%. PPC seems like a dead party at this point. I'm not making a judgment on the PPC there, on the policies. I like a lot of what Maxime Bernier says, and I generally like Maxime Bernier, but it's just a statement of fact at this point that it's not going anywhere. So here we go. And again, this is consistent with the Abacus polling that we've been seeing. And Abacus has been a very, very consistent and accurate pollster. Now we go to Liaison Strategies poll. So Liaison has the Libs at 207 seats. That would be a big majority. Conservatives 101 seats, Bloc 23 seats, NDP 11 seats. So they have the Liberals at 44%, the Conservatives at 36%. We're going to go and look at the history of the liaison polling in the last election. So just to give you a bit of perspective on Liaison Strategies polls. Not quite yet, though. New Abacus poll has the Conservatives on top, released today. So the last Abacus poll had the Conservatives at 42% and the Liberals at 40%. This one has them at 41%, Liberals at 40%, NDP at 8%, Bloc at 7%. So, and again, Abacus has actually been very accurate. I want to show you another one. Where is it? Yeah, so this was the previous Abacus poll. Conservatives 42%, Liberals 40%. That would have mapped out as a minority government for the Conservatives if the election had been held on that day. 165 seats, Liberals 146 seats. That's why I'm saying that it's a very risky move. If Carney actually really does want an election, an early election, that's a pretty risky move for him. What did we have here? Yeah, Ecos poll. This is from October 24th. Liberals 43.5, Conservatives 32.4, which is crazy. And I will show you here. So let's go in. Hold on. Here we go. So this is the polling leading up to the election. All right. And if we go all the way to the top, where did it end up? Conservatives with 41.3%, Liberals with 43.8%. So that's a 2.5 difference that the Liberals won by. And a lot of these pollsters tend to herd at the end. So even if they're very wide and really off all through the election, at the end, they'll bring it close and they'll start to herd so that they can say, well, look, we were pretty accurate, right? We're only 4 points off or something like that. But all through the election, it's way off, way off, way biased towards the Liberals. And this is, of course, to demoralize conservative voters, or maybe just an inherent bias that they can't see. But by the fact that they tend to bring it in, they get a bit more accurate at the end, tells me, no, it's intentional. So Abacus had them at 40, Liberals at 41, Conservatives at 39, off by 2 points. the final result was 2.5, even though he underestimated the Liberal vote and the Conservative vote here. I mean, that's pretty close. Here you had, Forum Research, 4 points. So the errors are always in favor of the Liberals, by the way. So the Conservatives are always underestimated every time. So, but let's go down. Let's see. What's this? Leading up to the election. So April 26th, this is 2 days before the election. ECOS had the Liberals up by 11 points or 10.5 points, right? So ECOS is run by a guy called Frank Graves, who hates Pierre Poilievre and has said so publicly. So you can just pretty much write those off. But let's go down. Let's go way down. Let's go down like a few weeks before. Here you've got Nanos Research, 43.6, 37.8. That's way off. That's what's like almost 6 points off, right? Here you have Liaison Strategies, 5 points off there. Here's Liaison. This is April 8th. So the election was I think, on the 28th of April. Nanos was off here by, what's that, about 4 points, over 4 points. Liaison was off by 7 points. Here you have 6 points, Liaison. Leger was off by 7 points here. Again, this isn't like months before. This is getting close to the election, right? The election night. So, hold on. Yeah, anyway, you see my point, right? You see my point that you can't take these too seriously because there's always going to be a liberal bias in these, except for just a couple. Like Abacus is one of the good ones that keeps it close. And they usually still err on the side of underestimating the Conservatives. So this is where 338, the aggregate, has things. And right now, according to them, if there was an election, it would be the Liberals, 171 seats, still one shy of a majority. Conservatives would lose some seats down to 138. But again, I've already shown you these polls are not reliable. ECOS, why is ECOS in there? Like here, you've got them 43 to 36 right now. That's just not true. That's just not true. Right here, Leger, you've got them 43 to 38. Liaison, 44 to 36. If it was the day before the election, these numbers would be different because they'd have to have them different because they have to be able to say, look, we were pretty close. Otherwise, they lose all credibility. They don't mind losing credibility in the run-up to the election, right? But at the final poll, they've got to be, somewhere in the ballpark, right? You've got Nanos 40 to 37.3, but Abacus 40 to 41, and Abacus has been very accurate, so I tend to lean towards them. And then we've got this new one, again, run by a Justin Trudeau advisor, former Justin Trudeau advisor, this new North Pole, Conservatives 40, Liberals 40. So how would that map out in terms of seats? Well, it looks like the Conservatives actually have a more efficient vote now than the Liberals. The Liberals always did. So, neck and neck, that's a benefit for the Conservatives. So we will have to see, but we will have to see. But the point is that things are getting really interesting. And if there is an election, if the budget does fail, if there's a non-confidence, it's very dangerous for the Liberals. Very dangerous. And you have to keep in mind, Carney can't do elbows up again. Not after all those videos of him, toadying to Donald Trump down in the White House. They can't do that again. I mean, even the Liberal supporters will laugh at him if they try and do that. He can't play the tough guy again, right? He can't be the guy who's going to take on Trump because obviously he's shown us that he's not, right? Yeah. So anyway, that is what's going on. And again, there may be an election coming up soon. I doubt it, but it can happen. All right. Let's see. What are you guys talking about? And actually, you know, you guys got to give me a minute before I come back. I just got to take a bathroom break for a second, and then I will be back, and I will take a look at your chat. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the golfing show. All right. Let's get to the chat. What are you guys talking about? Let's see. By the way, everybody who's watching right now, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Like the stream, everybody. Like the stream. Get your free good karma right now. And also become a channel member, and then you can watch our beautiful, beautiful, relaxing, calming, cathartic Monday premium streams. It'll be a wonderful thing. It's just a hangout, folks. Just a hangout. Let's see. Izzy, how you doing? Like number 8. That's a 1.08 good karmas. Just off the top of my head. Just doing the math. Let's see. Izzy says, I'm starting to think using ChatGPT to help with coding is slower than just writing my own code. I tried to get Grok to write code for a platform video game where it was like Mark Carney was trying to steal everybody's money. And yeah, it didn't work actually. It didn't work at all. And I had to give up on it because there kept being things that the Grok kept getting wrong in terms of the software and stuff. I want to give it another try though, because I would like to do that for like a premium stream. Create this video game where you have to stop Mark Carney stealing everybody's money, like a platform game. I remember I live streamed the Alex Jones game. I had like 2 years ago or something. It was in December, and it was super fun. It took me about 40 minutes to play, to finish the entire game, and it was like a platform thing, and it was like you had to fight like Justin Trudeau and all these, Dr. Fauci. It was fun. It was a hilarious game, actually. And like Tucker Carlson came and helped you, and Joe Rogan came and helped. It was fun. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says the next person without a red icon who types in the chat will get the gift. Well, that's nice. It's a very nice thing. Very good of you. What a good, kind-hearted person. Let's see. Trudeau Survivor says, as far as I can tell, Rumble randomly gives the gift to someone who typed in the chat and doesn't have a red icon. Okay, that sounds about right. Trudeau Survivor says, I don't know what happens if the stream ends and the gift hasn't been awarded. I don't know. I think it just automatically just gives it to somebody. Trudeau Survivor says, I was talking to a guy who was fairly up to date with Canadian politics, and he had no idea the ostriches were killed. Well, media doesn't want to touch it, obviously, right? Because it makes the Liberals look bad. So that's the state of media in Canada. Trudeau Survivor says, I wonder what percentage of Canadians are completely unaware of the ostrich saga. 80, 90%, 95%. Steve Tollison, number 6 alike. Sorry, I'm late. Well, that's okay. Anytime, man. Number 6 like, that would be like 1.75 good karmas for you. That's pretty good. All right. That might be just enough to put you over the edge there to having a great life. Let's see. Nevada says she looks a little psychotic when she smiles. No, they're all crazy. They're all crazy. Trudeau Survivor says you'd think a story about 300 exotic birds in Canada would be big news. If the media like unless most Canadians who are paying attention to anything that's happening outside of, like, I don't know, movies, entertainment, or whatever, their brains are plugged straight into CBC, and they're not going to tell them about it, or they're going to, not spend much time on it. JDL, how you doing, JDL? Great point here. Hit the like button. Everybody be like JDL and hit that like button. Come on. Let's see. Look at this. JDL was gifted a membership by Turtles. My oh my, guess what? Guess what that means, everybody? Guess what that means for Turtles? This is very prestigious. Guess what? Turtles is the best person ever. That's right. Best person ever, Turtles, for gifting a membership to JDL. It's a beautiful thing. Probably nature's greatest miracle. And, people have their ideas of great figures of history and great men and women and whatnot. I'm here to tell you that they may be great, but compared to Turtles, all dog shit. Total dog shit. Human garbage by comparison. So, and this is all for less than the cost of a brand new Tesla Cybertruck. I mean, come on, best person ever. Beautiful. Nevada got number 7 tonight, so I don't know what that is. That's 1 point. Did we already do 7? That's like 1.8 good karmas right there. Boom. Let's see. Spambot asks, Richie, did you try Super Grok? I just have the Grok that's on X. I don't know if that's Super Grok or not. It works pretty well now. I noticed you still have to be careful though with it. Like I used it to do a little bit of catch up on Tenet Media, and on that case, and yeah, it was a bit misleading, and I had to ask it another question. It was talking about the main thing with Tenet Media is, and the really weird thing about it is that whole case, and we went through this earlier, but I know that Spambot's familiar with it, is that, the Russian influence thing, right? Is that if none of the creators had any kind of editorial guidance or rules or anything, and they were just simply licensing the content that they were making anyway. And this was all totally unknowing that it was allegedly funded by RT, by Russians. Well, the whole thing doesn't make any sense. And anyway, so I had to go in, and it said, to produce and license content, and I had to say, Grok, but they weren't actually, the company wasn't actually producing any of this content. It was just being licensed out. And then it said, oh, yes, you're right, and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, you can't trust the AIs. You really have to double check, and I don't take it for granted what they say. But I don't know, is that Super Grok or not? I don't know. Let's see. Turtle says, God bless those that fought for our country. And yes, a very happy Remembrance Day, a good Remembrance Day and Veterans Day for everybody in the United States and Canada and across Commonwealth countries. Remembrance Day. All right. All right. Amazing Faces. How you doing? The perfect 10 likes. You got the 10th like. So let's see. What's that? I'm going to say that's 1.01. I can't give you any more. I'm sorry. But it's better than nothing. Let's see. We got a lot of chat happening in here. A lot of chat. Spambot says, I applied the measles heat map to the locations with most immigrants. Lo and behold, it's an exact correlation. Yeah, I saw something about that earlier, actually, too. And yeah, that's not surprising. So it's Alberta and Ontario, which have received the most immigrants. And so when you're bringing in millions of people, like minimum 1 million a year, and they're totally unvetted, and they're not checking to see if they've had their measles shots, which apparently is so important, right? Yeah, you're going to get this. So, you're going to get, when you're doing mass immigration from the third world, you're going to get measles and things that are way worse than measles as well. Let's see. Nevada says, take your Ivor if you have to be around them. Well, apparently it is. I mean, I remember when they started calling it horse goo and stuff, and I was making videos. Probably this is why my channel got flagged, and like I got demonetized like twice, and channel strikes and all that, because I was like making videos saying, well, here's like the Nobel Prize page for the guy who made ivermectin. So apparently it's not dangerous. Let's see. Turtle says illegal aliens, not immigrants. Well, thing is, the Western countries have done it differently, in different ways. So Canada got, well, we don't really know how many illegal immigrants crossed over in Quebec, but it's not millions, right? In Canada, it's been legal. In the States, Biden did it through illegal immigration. In the UK, it's mostly legal, and then, but more illegal than in Canada. The main thing for these leaders is just simply to rush in as many people as possible by whatever means possible. Let's see. Nevada says you will get TB2, tuberculosis. So, didn't parents just have measles parties? Didn't they? Didn't they used to have that, like, on purpose, so that when the kids were young? Anyway, let's move on. So we've done the polls. Let's watch this. Defiant L's posted this, quote, how many illegal immigrants did Barack Obama deport in his 8 years as president? Now, it's important to remember for the modern left that each morning they wake up, history is a blank slate, and then they just write whatever history they want onto it. And you actually need to do that to be in the modern Orwellian left. He who controls the past controls the future. So they just make up their own history. They just forget what they don't want to remember. None of it matters. They'll make up stuff. let's take a look here. What is Piers Morgan saying?
How many illegal immigrants did Barack Obama deport in his 8 years as president?
Oh, I don't know.
Have a guess.
No clue. I mean, I know it was a lot, but I don't know the exact number.
Have a guess.
I really don't.
The
More than
answer
Trump.
is over 3 million. He was known as deporter-in-chief by Mexicans.
Yes,
He
read that.
deported way more than any president in history. Who dropped the most bombs in a calendar year in American history?
Oh, come on. President Barack Obama.
Barack Obama,
Yeah.
right? Who got elected in 08-09 on shutting down Guantanamo Bay? Because as a former lawyer, he believed it was an illegal institution.
President
Barack
Barack
Obama.
Obama.
What is still open today?
Guantanamo Bay?
Correct, right? The general thing is Obama angel, Trump devil. But if you actually apply the scrutiny that we give Trump, put it this way, if Trump had deported 3 million people, you think you guys wouldn't know that answer? Of course you would. How many illegal immigrants did Barack?
Yes, this is why I say if you want to be in the left now and avoid as much cognitive dissonance as possible, you just wake up in the morning and history's a blank slate and it's just whatever you want it to be, right? Whatever will justify the thing you're going to do today, the crazy, awful thing you're going to advocate for today. Let's see what. All right, let's move on. I think it's going to be a pretty early one tonight. I think it's going to be 2 hours, folks, just to let you know. So I think we got about another hour. We'll have to see. So this is the real Mr. Bench, a man whose opinions sometimes ruffle feathers. Well, will that happen now? I guess we'll see. He's responding to this from David Pugliese, David Pugliese. I don't know. He's responding to this. Canadian military will rely on an army of public servants to boost its ranks by 300,000. Federal public servants would be trained to shoot guns, drive trucks, and fly drones, according to a Defense Department directive. So, this is kind of weird, right? It's kind of weird. Public servants, like bureaucrats. Are bureaucrats really the best people? Why would it be bureaucrats? It seems odd, right? Like, what makes sense is to train young men. That makes sense. I mean, it's just obviously what you would do. That's why other countries do that. They don't train middle-aged bureaucrats and like HR ladies. Seems very strange. Is this a way of like forcing diversity into the military? What else is it? I mean, what is Carney planning to use a literal army of? He's already using an army of bureaucrats to crush Canada, right? But is he planning on using an actual army of bureaucrats to crush Canada? That's my question. Now, real Mr. Bench has something to say about this. Let's take a look. So to clarify, the Liberal government wants to take away the legal guns of Canadians. Yes, this has been an obsession of the Liberals of the last decade. Take away the guns from legal firearms owners. Take away the guns of people who own guns legally, right? And don't break the law. But our military wants to train 300,000 public service workers to fire guns to protect Canada. These are the same workers who demand they be allowed to work from home as a commute is too hard for them. I think he's got a point here. I believe the real Mr. Bench has a point here. The people that demand they be allowed to work from home because the commute is too hard, it's too taxing. I don't know. Is like boot camp going to be a bit of a problem for them then? I think it might be. I don't know what. This is just more of the chaos and dysfunction, the woke dysfunction that is just engulfing and devouring Canada on its 10-year journey and its decade-year journey into crazy progressive land. I don't even know what to make of this, right? Is it some sort of, malevolent plan, or is it just total incompetence, or is it both? Probably both. So there we have it. Anti-taxer posted this. This is what we're up against in Canada, of people aware that a budget was presented. And here's the thing with Canada. I think most Canadians are paying no attention whatsoever. But of the people aware that a budget was presented, 52% say it's a step in the right direction. But then only 17% say they will be better off because of it. How does that make any sense? How does it... There's so much that doesn't make sense in Canada. But let's watch this.
About half of those aware of the budget say they think this is a step in the right direction. The other half think it's not. And what we also learn is, though, when you dig deep and you actually ask people, like, do you think you're going to be better off because of this budget? Only 17% do, and the size of almost more than double of that say they won't be. It will actually hurt them. About half of those aware.
So, what does this tell us? So 52% right direction, 48% wrong direction, but 17%, let's go, hold on, where was the other one? 17% think they'll be better off. So 52% say that it's going in the right direction, but 17% say they'll be better off. Either this is like some sort of failing of the polling data, but this is Abacus data. So, I mean, they're quite good. This doesn't make any sense. I guess this is totally appropriate for Canada. Doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense. But we're ruled by liberal, radical progressives nonetheless. The story of Canada. Let's see. All right, let's move on. Actually, let's go to the chat for a minute. Let's go back to the chat. Maybe we'll put a different women's sport on. There's golf still. What else have we got? Kind of like the fishing one. I like the fishing show. All right. What do we got going on? Canucks six stringer, good to see ya. Says nice putter. I couldn't agree more. Nada says measles parties was a real thing. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Turtle says yes. My mom had a lot of it back in the '60s. Also sent my sisters to neighbor's house to have them get chicken pox. Never had chicken pox. Turtle says rest in peace, San Francisco. What's going on in San Francisco? I mean, other than, the apocalypse, the usual apocalypse. As he says, how can you say you haven't read the budget without saying so? I think, unfortunately, what percentage of Canadians will actually go through and read any part of the budget? I don't know, 5% maybe? I mean, maybe that's being generous. Turtle says Scott Pressler is coming to Washington and Assistant AG is watching. LFG. Scott Pressler is great. Scott Pressler is fantastic and incredibly effective. So that's awesome. Let's see. Spambot says the 17% are the yacht and private plane owners. Yeah, they removed the luxury tax on those. Well, the luxury tax on those was stupid anyway. It barely brought in anything, right? It was just a sop to the NDP, just a sticker to those wealthy people, the billionaires and the billionaires. The whole thing was just kind of dumb in the first place, but it's really insignificant. I mean, I guess maybe it'll help out those companies a bit, right? Maybe it'll save a few jobs. I don't know. Let's see. Macross, how you doing? It says politicians are basically blubbering elitist dumbasses. Well, I can't disagree with that. Cannot disagree with that. All right. Where we go next? Okay, so let's check this out. So, thought you might find this interesting. This is Concerned Citizen. I'm an OG lesbian. LGBT serves a dark agenda. Gay rights have been hijacked by the TQ+. Well, that's absolutely true. So the thing is, if you criticize like even the most lunatic, gender ideology, the infinite series of abstractions that the word gender has been redefined as, they say that you're against all of the letters when you're just saying, well, here's this one letter, and part of what they're saying doesn't make sense. And that's the trick. That's the tool they use. So with what she's saying, she would be anti-LGBTQ, blah, blah, even though she's the L. That's how it works. That's how insane it is. And that's how stupid the adherents of this ideology are.
This is a message from an OG lesbian. The acronym LGBTQ+ is not a representation of a united community, but the strategic force teaming of the LGB with the TQ+ that serves a dark agenda to rebrand sexual fetishes and disorders as sexual orientations. For what was once a legitimate civil rights movement, gay rights, has been hijacked quite literally by the TQ+ and used as a Trojan horse to mainstream their degeneracy. First, we have the untouchable Ts, the trans cult, who want to sterilise children with puberty blockers, turn all homosexuals into surgical simulations of straight people, and destroy women's rights to enable men's fetishes. Then we have the Qs, young men feminised by sissy porn, furries and pups who fetishise bestiality, and even adult babies who fetishise infancy are all accepted and protected by the rainbow umbrella that magically transforms all scrutiny into bigotry. But the thing that requires the most scrutiny is the unspecified plus at the end, a placeholder for what's coming next. MAPS, or minor attracted people, a euphemism that is already being used to describe pedophiles who are waiting in the wings for their time to shine. Because the LGBTQ+ sexual psyop is not about promoting tolerance of diversity. It's about grooming society to accept depravity. And as an L, I renounce all association with it and the LGBs who are accessories to the fact. And I urge you to do the same and join the movement for LGB without the TQ+, because we need to divorce people and we need it stat.
Well, that makes just nothing but sense. 100% sense. I've always said the plus was, they don't know what it is, but they're sure it exists. Well, actually, I think she's right. They do know what it is, and they're just waiting. They've dipped their toes in the water. We've seen articles about the maps before, dipping their toes in the water to see if they can start to put, because, the stuff they've already done is so unbelievable. Sex changes for children? It's insanity. It's the greatest, maybe it's the greatest medical scandal in history. And there's some tough competition there, as we know, over the last 5 years, right? So, yeah, she's 100% correct here. And and I think they do know what the plus is, and they're just waiting. They've dipped their toes in the water with it, just to check the temperature, and they're going to keep doing that. And things are, already there are things that are there's already things, again, sex changes for children, sterilization, mutilization, which is just an abomination, right? Stuff that people 20 years ago, the vast majority of people 20 years ago would have been absolutely horrified at. I would have said, obviously, no, that you can't do that. That's barbaric. So why wouldn't they take that next step? Again, they've already tried. They've been testing the waters for a while now, for a decade now. So I think that she's right. And let's see, what are you guys saying? Izzy says, believe my delusion or you are an ist or ism. Yes, that's the play. But the thing that I think is tragic is that they've tied, again, the L's, the G's, the B's, which that's not an ideology, right? That's just a preference, right? And they've tied that into something which is very much an ideology and a cult. And they're not the same thing. These are not the same things. They don't belong in the same camp. They're not connected. But the trick is, again, so if you criticize their most insane, barbaric medical excesses, and we're talking about literally sex changes for children here, they say that you're against her. In fact, she must be anti-LGBTQ2SL, whatever, plus herself. They will actually say that about people like this, or about like gays against groomers. That's how you know it's a cult, right? Because I mean, that is so absurd and idiotic that no person who's not totally brainwashed could believe it. Turtle says non-binary means non-existence. Love gays for gays. I think it's gays against groomers you're talking about on X. They're very good. And yet non-binary, again, this is just an abstraction. It doesn't mean anything, right? Again, turning gender, redefining the word gender, which was always just synonymous with sex. We always just meant that the same thing. If there was on a form, gender, you'd write male or female. There was no everybody knew what it meant. It was redefined into just this infinite series of abstractions. Non-binary is an abstraction. It's not real. You can't be non-binary. It's not a real thing, right? It's just an idea. It's not real. Let's see. Turtle says they are teachers in schools. The schools are riddled with this stuff, which is appalling. Macross says the Alphabet Mafia was always all degeneracy. It was just better when the bedroom was kept to the bedroom. Now they push sex into public forums. So I will publicly tell what I feel about them. Well, if something happened, there was a change. And again, if you look at those gay pride parades from like the 70s, 60s, and 70s and stuff, just a bunch of people that look normal, right? A lot of them wearing like suits and stuff, right? And then somehow that morphed into just fetish parades. And I think that was done intentionally, by the way. And as always, it's Marxism at the root of it. Let's see. I saw a recent article. Trudeau Survivor says, I saw a recent article that the IOC banned all trans women from competing. I think we've got that coming up, actually. All right. Did we have anything under this? Here we go. Yes. So, mind-blowing discovery, Elon Musk wrote. Mind-blowing discovery. What's he referring to? An article from the Daily Mail. Olympics set to ban all transgender athletes from female events after finding scientific evidence of advantages to being born male. What did Elon say? He said, mind-blowing discovery. You see, this is why people don't trust the experts anymore, because the experts are lying. So the news, the evening news, the teleprompters will trot out some expert to correct you. In fact, there's actually no advantage to men competing in women's events, right? Like, this is why nobody trusts the experts anymore, because you don't have to be an expert, right? You don't need any degree in anything to know that, yes, clearly men on average are stronger than women. Clearly. That's just obvious. Everybody knows that, and everybody has known that for all of time, which is why armies are always full of men, right? More aggressive, stronger, denser muscle and bone. And just everybody knows the advantages. And we're at this bizarre place where after finding scientific evidence of advantages to being born male. Physical advantages. Wow, they just discovered that. It's a breakthrough. It's a scientific breakthrough. This thing that everybody knew all along and were pretending that they didn't know. Mind-blowing discovery. Mind blown. Wow. Impressive. We already covered that. What do we got going on here? So here we go. Here's another thing. So Jay at Gen Xer posted this. Liberals know how to invest in what? Gender-sensitive water? What? What's going on? So here you see this project profile, and you can see down here gender-sensitive water. I had to bring it up just to make sure it was real. I had to look it up. So I did find it from Global Affairs Canada. So this is sending $110 million overseas to all of these different countries, Jamaica, Ghana, Jordan, Haiti, Senegal, because Canada's got no problems, right? I guess one of our problems isn't that we have gender-sensitive water and that we need to improve our gender-sensitive water. In fact, actually, I'm sure the Liberals do think that we need to improve our gender-sensitive water, but we definitely need to send $110 million to Bangladesh and Nigeria and Colombia to deal with their gender-sensitive water. Is it all just a joke? Is this a practical joke, a long-running practical joke on the country? I keep showing you guys this stuff. I keep showing you guys this stuff, and it just never gets any better. Gender just rice. Like, what? My favorite was the gender-neutral storage shed in Lebanon. I think that was $5 million for that one. You have to wonder, is the government, is just a 10-year long practical joke, is just for laughs? This been going on for 10 years and other countries are watching the clips and laughing at us? Like, what the heck is going on here? $110 million? COVID-19 vaccination delivery and health system strengthening. Look, we got our own problems. I'm going to say that COVID-19 vaccination delivery and health system straightening in Jamaica and Ghana and Haiti and Senegal is none of Canada's business. That's my feelings on it. I think Canada's business is Canada. We've got a $78 billion deficit that's even the Liberal supporters are lukewarm on, aren't touting as some sort of breakthrough for the country. Even they are admitting, this doesn't really do anything. Why? Because, here's just one thing that somebody decided, some bureaucrat in the government decided, we need to send $110 million to all of these countries for their, because I heard that they've been complaining about they don't have enough gender-sensitive water. It's a priority. It's an emergency. I don't know. I get, at some point, you just got to take care of your own house. If you wonder why Canada is going broke, this is it. This is just a drop in the bucket. We went through just one chapter of the budget, and it was hundreds of millions of dollars of just total waste, utter and total waste. All right. Have we got anything else under here that I want to see? No, nothing there. Man, we're burning through this stuff tonight. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. I gotta get. I gotta get through this in 2 hours because I've got an e-bike I've got to put together for Princess Baloney. So she's back. I got her an e-bike, and she's going to be impatient. So we got to get through this in the next 40 minutes. All right, let's go back to the chat for a second. Let's see. Izzy says, weak-minded people becoming teachers. Yeah. Honestly, yeah. And it's, teaching is dominated by women. And so that women are more, not all, I'm not talking about all women. Obviously, there's lots of great women who watch this show, right? But I'm just saying women are more likely on the average. They're more susceptible to the idea pathogen and to becoming woke zombies. And so you find in women-dominated fields, well, wokeness dominates. Let's see. Izzy says, newly discovered mind-blowing science. Izzy says, experts are paid for. Yep. JDL says, I can write my name in the snow. Good times. Good times in the Radio Baloney chat. Let's see. Well, we got to do this. Let's go. Let's do it. You people ready? You know what's coming. Let's be clear. Cryptocurrency is no longer emerging. It's here. And this latest move cements that reality in the biggest way yet. Trump Media Group just inked a massive $6.4 billion deal with Crypto.com, the world's top crypto platform. They're teaming up to scoop up $6.4 billion in CRO. That's the powerhouse token that fuels fast, low-fee DeFi, staking rewards, and real-world perks like cashback on your spends to launch America's first CRO treasury. When it's done, this new company will be the biggest CRO holder out there. You want in on the action? Head to crypto.com. That's crypto.com today and grab some CRO. Let's make crypto great again. I tried it a little different that time. Because I want to show that beautiful ad some respect. I do it in different ways. I know the ad might get tired of some of the accents that I do. I got to switch it up, try new things. I got to respect the ads, folks. I got to respect the beautiful ads, my favorite ads. All right. Now what the hell are you guys talking about? Let's see. Bristletube just says simply, oh, for fuck's sake. Let's see. JDL says Russia doesn't have these problems. Well, yeah, but also Russia's got its own problems too. Let's see. Izzy says gender sensitive water can't freeze or boil. I don't know. I think it's just always complaining. Let's see. Nevada says e-bike isn't safe. They blow up and burn. Well, you got to go sometime. Let's see. Nevada says this cameraman sucks. Yeah, I guess he's not that good. Not talented, let's say. All right. Story time with Uncle Kumaran. How you doing? Good to see you. He says, didn't Lauren bang Destiny fairly recently? How's that a conservative move? I don't know. I mean, I saw some rumors about that. I don't know. I highly doubt it. I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around the internet all the time. I don't think she's ever confirmed that or anything or commented on it. I don't actually follow. She doesn't put much stuff out, to be honest, Lauren Southern anymore. She's kind of kept her head down a bit. So, but I don't know. I mean, that's just, there's lots of things that are said on the internet. I kind of doubt it. Steve Tolleson, how you doing? Liberal thought is dominated by women. Yes, the unionized teachers gave teachers a lot of power. So liberals now own education. It was always bad, but now they have the power also. Yeah, it's dominated. So fields like that are dominated. Nursing is dominated by leftism now. X-Link is safe for the stream. All right, let's take a look at the link quickly. But don't send in like a ton of links, you guys, because I've got to keep this to 2 hours, and I want to get through everything. All right. My apologies. We could do more on Friday. Okay, one thing to watch for, you guys. And I had something from her on the last stream, which I didn't seem like her, and I didn't realize at the time. There is a copycat account. And so if you're looking at Jasmine Lane, it's with a capital I instead of the L. It's very sneaky, and I think it's really just mirrors this site. What does it say? The tube casing itself is the right size to hold a shotgun shell. So what's this all about? Stolen bikes stripped down, parts turned into weapons, say Winnipeg police. Ugh. Tubes of bicycle frames just the right size to be a gun barrel. Oh, God. But they need to take away guns from legal gun owners. Legal guns from from licensed, registered, law-abiding gun owners. It's just upside down world. Carney's still going on that. He loves that idea too. I mean, gun crime is going way up in Canada, but it's all just illegally owned handguns. Like, in fact, you can't even buy a handgun in Canada anymore, right? So they're all illegal guns. Nothing to deal with that, but just take away from the legal gun owners, the people who don't commit crimes with the guns. Let's see. But yes, instead of spending tens of millions to reform our incarceration capacity, let's target the law-abiding and registered firearms owners with zero criminal records. Yeah. It's just dystopian. All right. Hold on. Let's go back. Where were we? All right. Where are we going? Where are we now? Let's see. So, hold on. I wanted to go back. Okay, sorry. There was a little on this one of the gender. So with the gender sensitive water, I wanted to look up what is gender sensitive water. Gender sensitive water is an approach to water management that recognizes and addresses the different needs, roles, and power dynamics between genders in relation to water resources. So utter and total bullshit. That's what gender sensitive water is. And that's why $110 million is required from Canadians. So there you go. Let's see. Hashem says the internet necks are not real life. Islam is far worse in person. This horrifying scene is in New York. With around 600 mosques in New York, why do they occupy otherwise peaceful public spaces to do this? Well, it's a display of power, right? That's why it's saying this is ours now. They don't need to do this. If this was Christians taking over this to pray, it would lead the news for like 3 weeks and be called like some white supremacist gathering or something. But Muslims can do this, right? It's a demonstration of power is what it is. It's like, this is ours now, and we're going to do what we want. And you can't do anything because you're too weak and stupid.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha.
Get used to it. Get used to it, New York. All right, let's move on. What do we got going on here? So this is from CBC Watcher. Saying, paging the Canadian media, Mark Carney and Marc-Andre Blanchard and Michael Sabia. Treasury Secretary Besant, quote, that would be an incorrect assumption because I had to sell my stocks to become Treasury Secretary. Wait a second. Treasury Secretary Besant had to sell his stocks to become Treasury Secretary? Well, how come Mark Carney didn't have to do that when he became Prime Minister? That's so weird. It's almost like Canada is a joke.
Article, next question.
Yeah, and Mr. Secretary, I hope this question doesn't piss you off. Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's 4-on-1, but seems about right.
Well, okay. Yesterday, the stock market took a pretty good jump on news that the shutdown might come to an end. A lot of people did very well in the stock market, I assume. And I assume that you probably were one of them, and good for you.
That would be an incorrect assumption because I had to sell all my stocks to become Treasury Secretary.
You sold them all?
Had
Really?
to, yes.
But you have a blind trust, I would imagine.
There's no such thing as a blind trust.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for straightening me out on that. But anyway, a lot of
Article. Next question.
So how come Mark Carney didn't have to sell his stocks, and now like literally everything that he's spending Canadians' money on and borrowing money to spend is a conflict of interest for him? Wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, Besant isn't even the president. He's just a Treasury Secretary. Mark Carney's the Prime Minister of Canada. I mean, they do have that blind trust managed by like his best friend that Mark Carney knows what's in it anyway. So, yeah, this is why Canada's a joke. It's stuff like this that makes Canada just a laughing stock and a cautionary tale for the rest of the world. Let's see. Marty Up North posted this. This video narrated by Mark Carney is still on the World Economic Forum website. So, Marty Up North is saying here that Mark Carney will not change his stripes. We all know that, right? His book, the copy of Values that I have, his book Values, was printed in 2022. Like, not in some kind of lost, naive youth, right? No, he hasn't changed his mind in a few years, right? This is who he is, right? Let's take a look. So again, this is for the World Economic Forum.
Time is running out to make this transition to net zero, to have a sustainable world. We need to transition the energy system on the scale of the Industrial Revolution at the speed of the digital transformation.
And whoever does that's going to make a lot of money. It's going to be a lot of subsidies, a lot of funds extracted from populations of countries to make a lot of money.
In order to do that, we're going to need a fundamental transformation, really a revolution in the financial system. And I'd say that revolution started really in earnest with COP26 2 years ago. Only $5 trillion in the financial system was explicitly committed to net zero. That number grew to $130 trillion. That's 40% of global financial assets. Global financial institutions can play a number of roles to help economies in the transition. First, the most obvious is to get money, to get capital to those companies that have plans to get their emissions down. And so part of that is...
Geez, and I wonder if he's invested in a lot of those companies. I wonder if Brookfield is involved with a lot of those companies. Because he has, like, we've seen clips, I've shown you clips of him talking about how much money there is to be made in all of this. Yeah, this seems to be pretty relevant with this here, right? Where Treasury Secretary Besant in the States is saying he had to sell all of his stocks before he become Treasury Secretary because of obviously conflict of interest. So it seems kind of directly, they seem kind of tied together, don't they? There's some relation between these stories, right? Again, Canada is determined to be a cautionary tale for the rest of the world. Just a warning. Is that the point? Like, Canada was selected to just warn the rest of the world, don't do this. All right. So, Chloe Cole, who was recruited into the trans cult when she was just, I believe 12 years old when she was recruited into the cult. They gave her a double mastectomy by 14, I believe. And now she is detransitioned and speaks against the kind of barbaric practice of so-called euphemistically named gender-affirming care, which is actually the exact opposite. What they do is the opposite of gender-affirming. But in any case, She posted this. Meanwhile, inside the venue, the party of hatred and fascism hitting the YMCA. So this was, I believe, a Turning Points USA event. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at all the fascism and hatred. Yeah, YMCA. They used to play that before all those Nuremberg rallies, right? If I've got my history correct. Yeah. Was this at Berkeley? Yes. So this was at UC Berkeley, and all of the leftists, the Antifa, were outside, just losing their minds as usual. UC Berkeley currently looks like a war zone from Frontlines TPUSA. An Antifa member just lit off a flare, resulting in the TPUSA event attendees being rushed inside. A car then comes and starts backfiring, visibly scaring multiple attendees who feared they were hearing gunshots. Yeah, doing that on purpose because we obviously know why they would do that, because they're sick, because they're violent communist revolutionaries. Let's take a look. These are the people that are supported. These are the people that are supported by the Champagne Socialist crones on The View, by Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon, that are supported by CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times. These are their heroes. They love these people. They love these violent communist revolutionaries for some reason. I guess because they don't like Trump. But here's a news flash for the Anderson Coopers and the other teleprompter readers on evening news. They also hate you, right? And you're up against the wall as well if these people ever get power. All right. Hold on. Do we have anything else? No, we already covered that. All right, let me get back to the chat briefly, and then we shall continue and finish off the show. Izzy says, people aren't paying attention. Most vote by party with no idea what their party stands for. 100% correct. Trudeau Survivor says that solar mirror farm they show in the Carney ad was a giant failure. Cost was enormous, barely generated any electricity. And there's a number of problems with with like solar and wind. And as we saw with that massive outage in Spain and Portugal, we don't have time to get into that now, but there's actual technical problems with the energy that's generated by those, which maybe I should just do a separate video for that at some point. Let's see. Rosie's busy with the family. That's okay. Let's see. Hold on. What's going on here? What's going on? Nevada says you can just buy pipe at the hardware store. Talking about using the bikes for, yeah. JDL says perversion of justice. Turtle says Canada arms for Ukraine. That was one of the brilliant plans, sending like your grandfather's farmer shotguns to the Ukraine. Like, they're not going to use those weapons anyway. It's just so beyond idiotic. They're all weapons of war. Let's see. No, they're not. No, they're not. Let's see. Nevada says, I don't think Ukraine has any electricity. Well, I saw there was a big strike there, and I think they did knock out a lot of the power. I think that war it can't go on for that much. I mean, maybe another like 6 months, but it's just an attritional war. You got one side that's got way more of everything than the other. And, eventually the side with less of everything and less people, and all else being equal, will lose. That's just the way it is. Rosie says, I come back in as you are saying you could not do anything because you're too weak and stupid. Who said that? I didn't say that. I said that men are stronger on average than women. Let's see. Turtle says, we pay for security for Canada, which is one of the reasons why it's not all Canadians, but it's a lot of Canadians that have this inferiority complex towards the United States. So their whole point of pride for them being Canadian is just not being American, which is pathetic. Yeah. And look, the United States protects Canada. That's just a fact. Canada cannot protect itself now. Right. It's been and it's not just liberal governments, it's been conservative governments as well. And that's just a fact. So, but there's this weird, again, it's this embarrassing inferiority complex that manifests as this kind of, our national pride is that we're not America. Well, I don't know. Like, America's the biggest economy in the world. Why is it that's something to be proud of? The most powerful military in the world. Why is not being that your point of pride? That doesn't make any sense, right? Like you'd be proud of having the most powerful military in the world or the world's largest economy. Not proud of not having that. It doesn't make a sense to me. All right. I'm going to skip down to the bottom here because we got to keep this moving. Spambot says, Richie, I filled your DMs on X with lots of palate cleansers. We'll get to them on Friday. Thank you. Maybe she can buy a sombrero. Let's see. Trino Survivor says, RB, I'd be careful about giving Princess Baloney a bicycle. She might be planning on turning the parts into a gun. Just saying. Okay, that's top joke of the chat tonight. That gets the award. Top joke. Might be. Oh, shit. No. Oh, no. Now you gave me a cramp. Okay, got to stretch it out. Okay, no more laughing. Damn it. I know you're trying to help, but you hurt me. All right, now, I think I've gotten over it. Okay, we're good. All right. Rosie says, Spambot is taking over my X job of spamming you. Pay attention. He sends good stuff. I always check it every single stream. I even checked before this one. But I guess some stuff was sent in after I checked. All right. I think I checked. Oh, maybe I didn't. I don't know. God damn, what? I'm only a man. Only a man. All right. Like Marcus Aurelius. Had a man following, one guy, his job was to follow him around saying, you're only a man, right? And I have that too. Let's see. All my money goes to that guy, just to remind me I'm only a man. And one day I will die. Okay, we're not going to show that because we don't got time. We're going to go to the last thing. So, what's this? Jacob Frey rallying the Somali clans against their common enemy, Minneapolis 2025. So that's Dune. So let's watch this. And what could he be talking about? How could this relate to Minneapolis? Actually, we can't do that because of the sound. Let's see. From Drew Pavlou, Jacob Frey, apparently, so that's the mayor of Minneapolis. And he's the mayor in 2020 with the George Floyd thing, who went out and tried to placate the BLM masses and the mobs and all the woke people. And he was an authority figure from the state, I guess. So they got mad at him. He wasn't far left commie enough or something. And they started hurling abuse at him, and he kind of just scurried off kind of pathetically. But he's still the mayor. He's still the mayor, apparently. Jacob Frey apparently beat Omar Fateh. I don't know. Omar Fateh? He's a real Fateh. Omar Fateh in Minneapolis by exploiting Somali clan divisions. Oh, it's just awful. Somali TikTok. This guy is taking advantage of tribal politics. We are too easy. This guy, he understands how to divide our people. Well, this is it, you see. So in other cultures, they don't see the world the same way. So, like in Somalia, for instance, you may not be an individual. You might just simply be a faceless part of a clan. And that's where your loyalty is, just to your clan, right? So, yeah, they're saying here, this guy is taking advantage of tribal politics. We are too easy. But he's progressive. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do something so cynical.
Whether you are from Galmudug or Getaway, you are from Minneapolis. Whether you are from Bosaso or Mogadishu, you are from Minneapolis.
Well, not really, though. Not really. So, yeah, there's two big tribes of clans, I guess, of Somalians there. And the Fatah guy, who is connected to Ilan Omar, is one. And then there's the other one that hates them. So the two tribes hate each other. They don't like each other, right? So he appealed to the one tribe, the other tribe, that Omar Fateh, that wasn't him, that wasn't his tribe, and then he used them to win with a combination of the other voting bases, right? So, yeah, seems kind of cynical. It's kind of cynical. Is that white supremacy? I think it might be. I think it might be the white supremacy there. Jacob Frey actually won a large section of the Somali community. There was huge division on clan lines. Well, this is what you get. This is what you get. Not all cultures are equal. They're not all the same. Let's see. All right, what else do we got? Do you remember Charlie Kirk's suggestion on how I know at that one, I'm not sure I wanted to. I haven't vetted that one yet, so hold on. So what's this? Megan Kelly says this. So what's she talking about? Sean Davis said, congrats to everyone who spent the last month crying about podcast hosts and group chats. The top law enforcement officer in Virginia wants to murder your children. This is Jay Jones. Because of your political views, but at least you racked up some solid social media purity points. This is the point. This is what I've been saying. I agree with this. Decision Desk HQ projects Jay Jones to win the Virginia Attorney General election. The guy who we found out was wishing death on his opponents, and not just death on the opponent, on their children. So, yeah. Everyone who spent the last month crying about podcast hosts and group chats, this is not the thing to get obsessed about, right? We don't need a civil war. We don't need purity tests, right? Sure, argue our points. That should be our superpower, right? That should be our massive advantage over the left and their very narrow bandwidth of what they can say, of what their comedians can even joke about. Right? They're in a little prison. They're in a little ideological prison, right? That won't allow them to adapt and adjust, right? Which is why they haven't tempered any of their most insane shit. Why they're celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. Why they're celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. Hold on a second. Sorry. Mr. Snacks was barking at something. You stay here, buddy. But it's a massive advantage that that we're a big tent, that it's everybody who's not batshit crazy over here, right? Because the left is just now batshit crazy. So, and it's this little dense group, and it's this very narrow band of what you're allowed to think, right? So we're everybody else, and it's a lot of different people, and it's a bunch of people who don't agree on everything. We're not like them, and that's a good thing. And it gives us the advantage that we can sharpen our ideas and we can come up with the best ideas because we've got more than one. The left has one idea: call everybody racist, right, to get what they want. We got lots of ideas, and we can compete, and which we can see which ones work best. I don't want to see us go into this purity spiral like the left does. That's what they do. We don't do that. I mean, look, I'm willing to draw the line at I'm willing to draw the line at trying to incite like death and violence, right? Okay, yeah, we don't want that, right? But there may be some things that we don't like, and this was always the West's advantage, by the way. That somebody would say something that you really didn't like a lot, that you hated, in fact, right? But because that person got to say it, a bunch of people that also had outside of the box ideas, but they were good ideas, got to say that as well. Because we weren't a society where if you stick your head up, it gets chopped off, like in China or somewhere like that. So our advantage is that there's lots of different ideas. Some of them are going to be terrible. But let's not go into the worst thing we can do is go into this purity spiral and start focusing on a fucking podcast or some flavor of the month guy that everything is the Jews' fault, right? Who's going to disappear anyway? Who's probably being propped up in any case just to be an enemy. So yeah, I think it's the most foolish thing in the world to start obsessing over, podcast hosts and group chats and like, who cares? Who cares? Right? Big tent, lots of ideas, let the best man win or best woman win. But you have to be one of those. You can't be non-binary because that doesn't exist. All right. So that's it, folks, and we are really coming right up against the limit that I set for tonight. Sometimes we just gotta go. Sometimes I gotta cut it down to 2 hours. And you know what? 2 hours is a very healthy amount of time for a live stream, right? For just one person doing a live stream. That's a hefty, actually, a pretty good stream. And a lot of people don't do 2 hours ever. For us, that's a short stream. That's a short one. So I think we're doing just fine. Rosie says, if I email you links, do you get them? Where do you email them to? Are you, I still haven't checked that. See, the website, I don't do anything on it anymore. It's just kind of dead right now. And I always forget to look because I can't do it on my phone. I have to go to the computer. But I will, I'll make a point of checking. I will make a point of checking and then I'll get them. I wonder if you could put, where you could maybe put links in the, it's a shame that Rumble doesn't have, like a post, like you can do posts for your channel. People can do posts and they could post like links and stuff. You could do that on the YouTube channel, actually, I think. Or I could just get like Truth Social or something. I don't know. All I know is that after this stream, I've got to put together a e-bike, which will probably take me 8 hours. And I'll be grievously wounded on one of my fingers by the end of it. Let's see. All right. I'll figure something out, Rosie. Don't you worry. Let's see. Did you ever do an ad tonight? Maybe we should do one more. We've still got a little bit of time. Let's see. What do we got? Rumble Premium and Perplexity. Everybody loves that. Let's go. Looking for smarter ways to browse and enjoy your favorite content without ads? Get the Perplexity Pro bundle with Rumble Premium for just $19.99 a month when you sign up before December 31st. Normally, that's a $29.99 value. This whole thing is just unbelievable. With Rumble Premium, you'll get an ad-free viewing experience across all of your devices, and that's the best way to get that experience across all of your devices. All is the best, always. And access to exclusive, that's also the best kind of content, exclusive premium content, like on Radio Baloney. No interruptions, just the videos and streams you love anytime, anywhere, which is also the best time to get them. Plus, Perplexity Pro boosts your productivity with unlimited research, unlimited uploads, exclusive member perks, and access to the latest and most advanced AI models for faster, smarter answers every single day. And you know who actually doesn't like this? Communists. You're not a commie, right? Save over 30% on this powerful bundle. Head to rumble.com/premium. That's rumble.com/premium before December 31st to sign up and unlock your premium experience. It's what every true anti-communist does. I almost forgot to put the commie hate in there, but I managed to get it right at the end. I pulled it together. Beautiful ad, by the way. Beautiful ad, Perplexity. Fantastic stuff. Rumble is doing amazing stuff these days. Everybody knows. Truth Social works. I got to write it down. Truth Social. Okay. All right. Let's see. Izzy says it's hard to fit a lot of 4 or 5 hour streams in. Well, normally Friday is like the long one, right? And I think, we usually go like 3.5 to 4 hours or longer. And then Sundays tend to be fairly long too. And then Tuesdays tend to be a bit shorter. Nevada says Rumble needs DM. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Spambot says, have a great night, Richie. Good night to you, Spambot. Thanks for showing up again. Let's see. Truth Social works. Yeah, we'll get on there. I'll get on there. I will get on Truth Social after I put together the e-bike. Let's see. Spambot says, I gave you a whole stream worth of cleanser and FO links in your DM box. We'll get to those Friday. Rosie says, Truth Social uses Perplexity. I think that's what you're saying there. Rosie says, nice ad read, good energy, commie hate, heartfelt, 10 out of 10. That's almost the most you can get out of 10. All right. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for showing up yet again. It would be really boring if you weren't here. And I wouldn't get those good laughs that give me a cramp in my rib, which happened tonight. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you all. I'll see everybody on Friday, 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. Everybody have a great week. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.